Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another episode of Myth Busting Mondays. And today's episode, for the final myth, we are going to be seeing if whether or not that a boomer's vomit can break through solid glass. So I hope you guys look forward to the final myth of the episode. If you do, please make sure you drop a like and comment down below if you have a myth of your own that you would like to have be featured in next week's episode. And I hope you guys end up enjoying this week's episode of Myth Busting Mondays. Myth: can you cut a smoker's tongue with a golden crowbar? Alrighty guys, so myth 1 of the episode is going to be submitted in by StarSand64. And Star, it's good to see you again, man. I haven't seen you submit a myth in a while, so thank you for submitting another one our way. I appreciate you. But yeah guys, so this is a fairly reasonable question because the golden crowbar, I believe, is classified technically as its own unique melee weapon. I don't think it's entirely just a reskin of the normal crowbar, because in prior Myth-Busting Mondays episodes, we have tested myths before that show that the crowbars act slightly different than each other, for example, such as melee swing speeds. Now, just for the record, Star Sand is wondering if you can cut a smoker's tongue to save yourself, essentially doing it the lickety-split way. And even though a normal crowbar would not work for this because it's considered a blunt melee weapon and you can only get lickety-split with a sharp melee weapon, I still would like to see if the golden crowbar is an exception, just because I do believe that it is its own melee weapon, so there is the room for possibilities. Now, just to prove that this isn't a human error thing, here is going to be me swinging at the smoker's tongue with a normal crowbar, just to show for point of reference that the normal crowbar cannot end up cutting a smoker's tongue, but a sharp melee weapon such as the fire axe can cut the smoker's tongue. So after our testing, we have concluded that the golden crowbar cannot cut a smoker's tongue and acts almost identically to any other blunt melee weapon, for example, such as the normal given crowbar. The reason why I say this is because if, for example, I was not good at cutting smokers' tongues to begin with, I could just write it off and just say, oh, it's at least plausible due to human error. But I'm pretty good at cutting the smoker's tongue on a consistent basis with a sharp melee weapon, so I really can't say that. So in my opinion, I just think that it's just that the golden crowbar, nor the original crowbar to begin with, just doesn't work for this. So I'm going to have to label the first myth at busted here today, but Star Sand, thank you for at least trying to give us something unique and allowing us to be able to set this in stone. Myth: can you slow a common zombie down by throwing Chomsky at it? Okay guys, so myth 2 is going to be submitted in by Lee Everett. Now, this myth is oddly specific, but we did try to make it work to the best of our abilities. Basically what we did is that we had Tyler sit in a corner with Chomsky, and then we spawned a normal common zombie just a few feet away from him. The idea is that we are going to try to lure a zombie to Tyler and see how long it takes him from one wall to get to the other wall. Now, without throwing Chomsky, we gathered that at least from this distance where we place the walls, that a common zombie, once it recognizes where Tyler is and starts chasing him, it takes about roughly 3 seconds for him to chase him all the way from one wall to the other wall. And then when we tried to test this by throwing Chomsky at a common zombie, we actually didn't get any different of a result. We got the exact same 3 seconds. So we're going to say myth 2 is busted just because there's really no way to prove this as confirmed in general. It's a very hard myth to test because there's a lot of factors at play, such as the zombie finally noticing you and counting reaction times into play. So unfortunately, it's just not one of those myths that's easily confirmed, so we're just going to label it as busted. Myth: do survivors move slower with lower health when jockeyed? Okay guys, so myth 3 is going to be submitted in by JJ Lipscomb. Now this is another myth that is kind of oddly specific and hard to test, however though we once again did try to make it work. So the initial idea, the ideal idea, was to have all three of us being at different health colors. So Glaberska would be green, I would be yellow, and Tyler would be red. We would all have different movement speeds due to our injuries. The idea is we would have 2 at a time being in this little construction I made and seeing if whether or not that we could try to get from one end to the other faster than one of the other people. Unfortunately, due to the fact that the jockey is going to have influence on our movement and try to lure us in random directions, we really couldn't end up getting a consistent result. So due to the vague nature of this myth, we decided to work it a little bit into something more practical. So the myth specifically says, does the survivor's health affect the speed of the jockey riding? Now, unless you have God mode like we were, you will go from green to yellow to red health extremely quickly, and it's hard to gather whether or not that you're going faster or slower in those different health levels. So what we decided to do to make this more consistent is that we had it where we all took turns being jockeyed, and we had the other survivors chase that person down with different HP levels. So for example, Glaberska would sometimes be jockeyed, I would be jockeyed, and then Tyler would be jockeyed, and then the other two would just try to see if they could catch up. So for example, if you are in red HP and you're chasing somebody down stuck in green HP while they're jockeyed, is that the same speed, for example, if it was the other way around, where if the person that was in red HP was jockeyed and the person in green HP was trying to catch up, would they both catch up at relatively the same time? Now, trying it this way and doing it multiple different times, we have come to the conclusion that the myth is busted. The reason why is such. When you are jockeyed, you are the same speed no matter what HP you are in. We have done this multiple times, and we have figured out that everybody at different HPs can catch up to the person being jockeyed. I believe what happened is that when Valve made it so that way the jockey grabs you, you're no longer going off of your movement speed. You are going off of the jockey's movement speed because he is the one that is influencing where you go. All you can do is resist. So, from that logic, and since you would be going down in HP anyways, and it would be really honestly too quick to calculate, I think that Valve just had one consistent movement speed for when the jockey's controlling you, and made it so that way that's just the base movement speed for the entire duration, whether you're green, yellow, or red HP. Myth. Will you be immune to dying by fall damage after getting pounced by a jockey mid-air MLG style? Alrighty guys, so myth number 4 is going to be submitted in by Glabersko. Now this is going to end up being inspired by a myth in a prior episode about whether or not that you can end up stopping fall damage by a hunter pouncing you. So we're going to be doing the same thing, but instead it's just going to be with a jockey. Now when Glabersko gets jockeyed and falls off of the ledge, he doesn't live unlike the prior myth, he ends up dying. So unlike the hunter, the jockey ends up not being able to save him. So we decided to test this once more on another map just to be sure. So I am a jockey, Tyler's on top of the Last Stand Lighthouse, and Glabersko is spectating. Tyler's going to jump off, and I'm going to pounce him. If Tyler lives, then that means the myth is confirmed. If he dies, it's busted. So when Tyler jumps, I'm going to hit him and see if whether or not that I can save him. So here we go, and I jump on him, but Tyler once again dies, which means that myth number 4 here is busted. Unlike the hunter, there's something with the jockey that's preventing me from being able to save him. It could be for a variety of different reasons, although I'm not too concerned personally, because if, like, for example, the jockey were to save me anyway, and this myth was confirmed, it really wouldn't matter too much in hindsight, because he probably would still rip me to shreds. Alrighty guys, so now we're moving on to the final myth, and once again is going to be, can boomer vomits break through solid glass? So let's go over to the final myth now, and see if it's confirmed, plausible, or busted. Myth. Can boomer vomit break through solid glass? Okay guys, so the final myth of today's episode is going to be submitted in by Tyler. Now the way that we are going to do this is like all the other prior myths that have involved breaking through solid glass, such as the Charger one and the Hunter one. What we're going to do is we're just going to find some glass on any given map, and we're going to have a boomer vomit right at it and see if whether or not that it's going to be able to end up hitting us through the glass, or if it will just bounce off and not register. So here we are on Chapter 3 of No Mercy, next to a glass door. Glabersko as a boomer is going to try to vomit at me on the other side of the door. If he hits me, the myth is confirmed. If the vomit does not hit me, it is busted. So here we go, the boomers are vomiting at me now, and it looks like that I am immune to the vomit effect, and shortly after you guys can see that there was indeed glass, which means that the final myth of today's episode is busted. You cannot have boomer vomits break nor go through solid glass. It will instead just not register, and you instead have to end up doing it out in the open. Alrighty guys, so that is going to be here for today's episode of Mythbusting Mondays, and I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying it. If you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. By the way guys, I just also wanted to mention 2 things before we wrap up the video. Number 1 is going to be the fact that on June the 5th, I am going to be having the 100th episode of Mythbusting Mondays, and I would like to do something special for that 100th episode, and I need your guys' help. In order to end up having this episode be the best yet, I need you guys to submit as many crazy myths as possible. So from now up until then, you guys can comment on any Myth-Busting Mondays episode, or you guys can leave them down below in my Discord server, like down below in the description. Please just submit any crazy myths that you can come up with. All I ask is that somewhere in your comments you please put the hashtag Myth-Busting Mondays episode 100. I do understand that yes, sometimes that YouTube will mark these as spam for whatever reason. However, though, I am still able to receive all of these comments. They're just ending up in my spam folder. So do not worry, I am still reading them all, and I still want you guys to submit them as normal. The second thing I would also like to mention is that I would like to try to host another Q&A sometime soon, but I have not received enough questions to warrant a video. So I would like to give a friendly reminder that if you guys have any questions for me, you guys can just leave them in the comments down below. So yeah, guys, with all that being said, I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying today's video. If you did, one last time, I would appreciate if you would drop a like, comment, and subscribe. But I hope you guys end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most geek YouTubers we're ever going to see. Thank you for watching, guys. I love all of you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords, Jesus here. And you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too. And give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!